All right, what is up, guys? It's your boy No Name, and I'm just here to talk a little bit because I have some information that I just don't think really fits the rest of Project Apothecary's videos, but I needed to get it out there anyways because I think it's good information into the behind the scenes of the project, I guess, to show that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. When I set up a strategy, sometimes it doesn't work, and that pivot that comes with that is very important. So, in this video, I just want to talk a little bit about what went wrong when I was trying to make this apothecary initially, this third one that I finished up, and what lessons I took out of it in order to make the strat better. Talk about the importance of pivoting a little bit and how to really actually utilize Magic Find. So let's get right into that, right? All right, so at the onset of working on this apothecary, the whole plan was really just be a Magic Find character. You know, reconnect with my roots of actually finding loot on the ground, but that comes with the obvious assumption of using like strong boxes and then hunting either cards or uniques. A very traditional approach, right? So I went to Dunes and invested in strong boxes and abyss things to make items fall on the ground. And what I found is that it wasn't that I was losing money; it just wasn't fast enough for my liking because you just don't get enough money out of the consistent drops in this format this late into the league. Uniques aren't really hitting unless they're really meaningful, because even like a Heat Shiver or a Calm Spirit is only 40, 50, 60 chaos. That's only a fourth of a Divine, and those aren't even that common. Well rolled uniques weren't even selling that well. I did finally sell one that sold pretty well at like a div and a half, but most of them were under 60 chaos. So that's not also not very reliable. And honestly, just the pricing of the strong box investment is very aggressive this time of league due to everybody turbo juicing something like Crimson Temple, for example, for much higher value hits. That said, it was extremely fun, and it was a nice throwback to my roots. Something I'd do earlier in the league rather than at this point in the league, though. Or at least if I did it at this point in the league, it need to be fully invested properly within. Can't skip the enraged Sean Block Sextant like ever. It's too good. You know, I also doing it just earlier in the league. But there was one cool thing to take away from this, actually, like as a little teaching, if you will, which is if you're going to get into magic fighting, you should really look into what uniques sell well in bulk or when corrupted. Some really good examples of this: Heartbound Loop, a really trash unique, but one that Ward Loop characters really care about, especially because they need to be catalyzed before they can be corrupted. So just getting them pre-corrupted from boxes or from like Vault Temple maps doesn't even work for them because they need that extra 20% damage on the damage that they take from minion death in order to utilize it properly. Or things like Sedima's, obviously, Herb Sorrows, etc. Just volleying things over and over until good things hit will also add some decent value, but it's all just still not super reliable at this point in the league. Okay, so before I talk about what we actually did, right? What I did afterwards, and that'll have its own video, but I want to give a little bit here, just so you have the idea in your mind. I have some advice about starting a Magic Find character, or really it's converting a Magic Find character. And that comes in with the first point here, which is that you should start from a strong character. Your character should actually be able to do whatever content you want to farm with this character and farm it well, farm it efficiently, right? So in my case, I'm doing T16 juiced math with altars. My build needs to actually be able to confidently do this content before I start putting Magic Find gear on. Then, on top of that, you don't have to slot every piece of Magic Find gear available to you. It's really just what Magic Find can you actually fit in without bricking your character. For example, I played CF. I opted that the amulet was not good. Either amulet, right? Biscos or the ascetic, neither of them would really work for me because the amulet is one of my few sources of damage, and I felt I really needed that damage. Or Creed's Embrace, while definitely a lot of items dropped on the floor, I determined the 20% MS actually just felt terrible. Like the loss of 20% MS, I felt like made me too slow, which both just made me feel like the game was unplayable because I hate being slow, but also because I would just die to certain things that I wouldn't really be able to move around within. And so for both reasons, I just ended up taking that off, right? And those are decisions you make on an investment by investment basis for your character. The other big thing for gearing up a Magifying character is that quant versus rarity is that they both are good. It just kind of depends on the strat that you're using. You know, the more and more you're focused on things like div cards or breach splinters, etc., things that don't scale with rarity, quant obviously gets better, but rarity still has its place because, you know, again, like I said earlier, early unique spamming or just unique voling, whatever it may be, that's rarity. Or even a big part of this is unique maps. I made a good amount of money off of just selling some of the unique maps that I dropped. Putrid Cloister, Coward's Trial, and that money also scales up earlier in the league and also scales up in bulk if you can get them in large amounts, right? So also a plus for those stats. And just the last little tip about magic finding, this is not really a character building tip, but it's just a good tip to have in mind anyways. You should get a good filter. It's not really, like I said, not a character tip, but just get a good filter because you're gonna, you know, you're gonna see so much loot. You don't want to die because you can't see what's killing you underneath all the loot. You don't want to die because you got stuck misclicking because you accidentally clicked on loot that you didn't even want to pick up, right? You don't want to be sitting there having to process all the time whether or not you're going to click on the things that you see. If you see it, you should click on it. That's just a general rule of thumb, but I feel like it's important to emphasize here when talking about magic find because magic finding really does specialize in creating large amounts of loot, and so it makes it really important that you whittle down what you actually see. Now, where did all of this land me though, right? Because I did finish this apothecary on magic finding it. That video is coming soon-ish. I have to finish a little bit there still. But I wanted to talk about it in this format first because I felt like the struggle and the learning process for this strategy is very important, and just some cool insight into how this works, at least for somebody who's learning, because I haven't magic found since before the change to Exalts and Divines. I used to magic find back when the top end for this type of stuff was getting a bunch of corrupted strong boxes so that you could drop corrupted 6 links to then turn into a lot of divines to bulk sell to people who were trying to roll their venters and their timeless jewels. So it was a very different time when I actually farmed out magic finding in the past. With all of what I've learned here put in this video as well as this, I can now say that I ended up moving my strategy into a magic find infused juiced mapping setup. It was not like, you know, 4 orbs and everything, but it was definitely a fairly beefy mapping setup, right? Running Eater altars, and we're still prioritizing those player altars that give me quant and rarity, so it still actually is extremely rippy. But instead of just doing boxes and whatnot, we're actually doing Harvey, Blight, and Breach because they all scale with monsters killed, and they scale. So therefore, they scale with quant. They scale with rarity. They give a lot of items. That's a lot of value there. We had Breach for our very, very consistent hits, mind you. And then Harvey and Blight for some things that had more spike value to then carry me over the top on my profit. And this also leans back into the character discussion I had about briefly ago because I wanted to beef up my character more at the cost of Magifying Gear to make sure that I could actually kill the essence monsters and the breach bosses that I was seeing, as well as just feel more comfortable taking on the blight bosses as well. Altogether, these decisions made the character feel better to play, perform better, and therefore made my money per hour go up by a ton when I switched strategies, right? So all that together, I just wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of how this experiment, like on the experiment went, and then be able to have all of these thoughts out there without contaminating the actual strat video for the one that I would preferably recommend to people. I just wanted to talk about this strategy and what went right. That said, thank you guys for watching. You guys are, you know, if you really enjoy the content, you want to see what's going on, you just want to keep track of the rest of the apothecary, right? The rest of the apothecaries. Go ahead and subscribe, you know, like the video. It really helps out. You know, if you have any experiences of Magic Find that you want to share or any advice for me, right, as a newer Magic Find player, drop those in the comments. just because I genuinely am trying to learn more about Magic Find. It's a part of what this experiment is about. Is not only am I going to get to have a Mage Blood and talk to you guys about how to make a Mage Blood for cheap, but I get to learn more about some of these strategies or builds that I haven't dug this deep into either recently or ever. And so, learning from those who have would always be cool, or just things that you learned through trying out this yourself. Always appreciated. And as always, I appreciate the support. If you guys want to see what we're doing live, check me out on Twitch, twitch.com/noname619. Also, you can join the Discord. Those links will be in the description. Otherwise, thank you guys. See you guys in the next one. Peace.